It is a very old game board. It's at least 2000 years old. And it was, you can say, rediscovered by Harish Johari and then republished by Harish Johari. And now I think there are many versions in the world and many commentaries and many people playing it and many people using it in many different ways. And I think most people will use it to learn more about Leela, and then we'll also try to find out a little bit for themselves which are the important parts, of the story, which are the arrows that bring them up easily, which are the snakes that bring them down easily. And in that way it can be used for spiritual growth, or also you could say in a more therapeutic way, to find out a person who feels that they have a problem. Okay, play the game, see where you get stuck a lot, and then that is maybe a subject to go into more deeply, and especially find which arrows bring you up a lot. And then in that way, actually, I think therapy, spiritual growth, healing, it's all one thing. We talk more about therapy and healing when we feel there is a problem, but actually we all have a problem and we all have no problem at all. So in that way, it's all one thing. So in that way it can be used, but that's not really what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the meaning of it. And in that way, it is actually a typical way to explain what is Tantric Advaita. What is the way in which we can see, okay, the non-dual reality, the absolute, which is actually the top row of the game board. There are 8 rows. So the top is the absolute, beyond the elements, beyond the chakras, beyond everything, beyond manifestation, beyond the manifested universe. There it is, present and not present, you can say. It is the only reality, but at the same time it is not existing in manifested form. So that is always the objective. That is always also what then guides us, the self which is in each and every one. That spark of the cosmic beingness, you could call it. And so that is always there. But to get there, or to live life, play the Leela, and have this with you, is a process, and this process is a process of energy. So that's why I say this is Tantric Advaita, because here we can get to understand which energies actually are at play in this game, and then we can understand better how to play it, and then to live, let's say, from the self, from pure beingness, becomes like something which you can really do rather than just think about. And that has always been also the way in which yogic tradition has done this. This is not something coming new. This is you can say in the Leela game board, all Vedic scripture is integrated in one overview. And of each of these squares you could write a book very easily. You could write many books maybe on each of these squares. So there's a lot to learn, a lot to see there. It is in that way entertainment for yogis, and a teaching tool or a learning tool. But there are also some very important general lessons to be learned from it, general messages which are there. And of course, the first and main message is that of Leela itself. Leela being this game board, yes, but Leela also being the game of life. And so that is very important to understand when we look at this universe, when we look at our life, to see it as nothing serious, but as a game. That's why we call it a game, because it's not serious. It's just a game, made for entertainment. We've come back to that subject quite a lot, and it still causes a lot of confusion. When we look at the universe and we look at cosmic consciousness, let's say, then we can easily understand, okay, this whole universe has emerged, has manifested from cosmic consciousness. But when we want to find the self, when we want to find cosmic consciousness, then we first need to a little bit get away from the universe, get totally inside find the truth there. No? So in that way, we then feel that this universe is Maya. It's an illusion. You can't do anything in there really. It's all a lot of bullshit in a way. And so you feel, okay, I want to get rid of that. I want to find the truth, and you go inside, and you go and you find the truth. Then at some point, you really are in the deeper meditation, totally immersed in the self, and you stay there for a while in this peace and bliss that is there, and in this knowing. But then when you open your eyes again and you look at the universe, then you really see that. Then you really see that which you found inside, you see it everywhere around you in the universe. No? And then you truly see that this is, yes, a game, a play, not serious, because, from unmanifested pure beingness comes the manifested universe, and that is part of the game, no? The game of colors and shapes and sounds and all the things that we can experience here in this universe. And then there is the opposite movement, back from manifested universe to the unmanifested pure absolute self. No? That is the entirety of the game, and it is a game and nothing serious, because we came from unmanifested pure beingness. No? So this universe was not created to find it. No, we started there. No? And we create the universe, and then we have the fun also of finding the source back. That's the game. So this is very, very important in your view of yourself and your view of life around you, and especially also, of course, then in the view of your ego. Because if this is a game, otherwise you could say it is like a theater, then we are all actors. And to some degree, there Maya is needed. No? To some degree, there the illusion is needed. The delusion, the belief in the illusion is needed. And so the main and most important illusion is, of course, that of the ego. The idea to be an individual, to be a man or a woman, to be a human even. These are all illusions that are part of the ego. But if you do not believe that you are a man, how can you be a man? If you do not believe that you are a human, how can you be a human? If you do not believe you are a rabbit, how can you be a rabbit? No? Then if you are a rabbit and you think I'm not a rabbit, then you start behaving very strange way, which will not work for a rabbit also. No? Then maybe you start hunting deer or something. It won't work well, I think. No? So that illusion, that ignorance is needed to play this game, let's say, of names and forms and experiences. And then once we start to question like the fun of that and want to go back to the source, then okay, again, we have to break this illusion, we have to remove the ignorance and find the truth, and in that way then return or continue to play the game, but getting less entangled in the illusion, getting less disillusioned, you can say, knowing that, okay, whatever comes which is agreeable is fine, and whatever does not come is also fine. This kind of things then make life so much more agreeable, and that way then our ego, okay, it evolves and more identifies with the self, and that prevents it from getting lost in the game, from attaching too much to something to which we cannot attach, because that is the nature of the game, that everything always changes. So any attachment will always bring a pain. So then, okay, we play the game in what we then call detached attachment. That is a story I think I have been telling quite a lot. So that is, of course, the main significance of this game board and also of life. And so in this game board we then see how that works. And okay, let's not overdo it in our enthusiasm for the game to think that this is the only way that this game board could have been made. But it is made based on ancient yogic understanding. So in that way, these things that are there really do make a lot of sense. And also in the general way that it is built up, we can see a very logical evolution, which is related to the elements and to the chakras. So this is very important. No? This game, this Leela, is shown on the game board purely as an evolution of desire. You can say that desires become more and more mature within spiritual evolution. And these desires are directly related to the elements out of which everything is made. So then we have the identification with the earth element, which is that of, solid objects, such as our body. So then we identify with the body. So we have the desire then to keep this body safe, to keep it healthy, to keep it fed, to have a roof over our head, to have a big bank account. These things come there, very natural that they are there. We can say, oh, first chakra, how bad. But actually, without it, how could you survive? No? This is, again, a little bit a necessary kind of illusion. No? Then naturally, when we have done that, automatically we want something more. When we feel, okay, we have done our work today, we have earned enough money, there's food in the fridge, then okay, let's party, let's have some fun. So then naturally, the second chakra desire, it comes to have some entertainment of the senses and mind. These are related to all kinds of things. This related to good food, to music, art, dance, everything enjoyable about life. This is a domain of the planet Venus, where we can have really nice time, and enjoy this Leela, enjoy this illusion. So then, okay, we do that for a while, like you can say at a young age. Now we party a lot, but then after some time of too much partying, we want to do something more, and we want to achieve something. So then we have the third chakra desire to achieve something, to be somebody, to be recognized in society, all these things. And okay, then we do that, and we get a respect, and people know us, and maybe we come on TV or have a big business or something like that. But then after a while, also this does not so much satisfy anymore, because then we want to be loved. We do not just want to be respected or even feared because of our power that we have built, but we really want to connect. We really want to love, maybe first in the family or friends, or beyond that, we connect also to other beings in general, to nature, and so then we start working for that and trying to have a real nice time together, which brings a bit of an extra problem then, because then all the problems of all the people that we love, they become our problems. So then we start helping people and trying to solve their problems. But that's, like carrying water to the sea. There's no end to their problems. So then we start thinking, oh, what is this? Why can't we all be happy? And then naturally comes the desire to, understand what this universe is about. And we start reading books and listening to lectures and thinking about all these things. Slowly coming to a certain basic understanding that this problem of unhappiness is not going to be solved through the understanding itself, because that doesn't change the unhappiness. Or maybe when we feel we've discovered something great, okay, we feel happy for a short while, but shortly afterwards that feeling again goes. So then we want to more durably kind of be able to affect our feeling and understand that the really good feeling comes from inside, and that is something that we can generate. And then we get the desire to meditate, which is then the sixth chakra desire, and then we meditate and we try to find the self and all that. And then we can move even from 6 to 7 chakra, get liberation there. That is the natural evolution of desires which is there. And so we have to understand that this entire evolution is brought about by desire. Whichever square you land on in the Leela game board, it is your desire to be there. Or at least your desire to be somewhere has brought you there, because if you desire to be somewhere and then you make a mistake and you fall upon a snake and you end up somewhere where you don't want to be, you can say, no, that's not what I desired. But it is still your desire that, created that. So this we always have to see. Whenever we feel we are like not in a good place, it is our own doing. It is our own desire who brought us there. And so that we have to always remember, even the desire for enlightenment can bring lots of problems, can create lots of misunderstanding with others. Maybe you feel then other people, maybe your children are disturbing your meditation, it can create lots of problems. So always it is there, and that in the game board is then expressed by the throw of the dice. Actually, for the people who know the game, when you start the game, starting from cosmic consciousness, you want to enter this play, you want to play, then you need to throw a 6. So many people sometimes they have problem to find this 6 because they do not really desire. So then once we enter the game and we throw the dice, that is in life same thing. We are in a certain place, but instead of wanting to stay in that place, we want to move to another place. We are in a certain state of being, in a certain emotion, and we want another kind of emotion. So then, that is our right to do that, but we have to be conscious that we are always the one doing that. Every day in life, many times, I think, we throw the dice. We try something, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out. But, that is our own doing. So we have to be very clear with ourselves about that. And in that way, develop a kind of equanimity towards whichever state we are in. Even if we are in a state which does not feel so good, or even if we are in a state which feels very good, not get attached to that, not attach too much importance for that, knowing that it is all our doing, and it is up to us to throw the dice. And then maybe take an arrow and bring the energy up. If where we are we don't feel so good, if our energy is quite low, okay, we do something and we move up. So that is another lesson which is there. Wherever you are on the game board, this game board in a way it's like terrible, when you play it. You are there, you are moving, maybe 6 chakra, 7 chakra, then suddenly, boom, you're back in first chakra. So this is like you can say a labyrinth, a maze, and so, if you do not understand that every state where you are, every square where you are, every emotion that you have is your own doing, then you resist it, of course, Then whatever is not agreeable, you will resist it. But so to develop equanimity means you understand that this is your own doing and that everything comes and goes and you are now in this state and then you'll move to another state and then again another state, and that way, you'll play this game. And there, of course, then the snakes and the arrows, they are very important to see them. The snakes bringing your energy downwards to the lower chakras, the arrows bringing your energy more up to the higher chakras, and there we have to also be very clear, and I think the game board in that way is very clear, that actually we can say, okay, high and low, because that is how they are arranged in the game board and also then as chakras on the spine, but it is not a matter of good or bad. First chakra is very important. If first chakra is not okay, then how are you going to live? You will have no food, you will have no health, you will have, no basis upon which to play this game. So then when we are in a period where we are, let's say, a lot involved in sixth chakra and meditating and feeling very blissful and something, at some point something may change and we need to maybe go back down to earth, to the earth plane of first chakra, and take care of our business, take care of our health, maybe some health problem then comes, and so we should not resist that. That is very natural. There should be a balance between all these desires. And okay, the natural tendency will be to move up. No? That is a tendency actually which is there in this evolution of desire that I explained, which all beings will somehow go through. No? In that way, you can say even the most stupid person, the most first chakra bound person, will one day move up to sixth, and seventh. That is unavoidable. But we cannot in that way say lower chakras are bad and we should ignore them, because you see that very clearly with the snakes, that they will bring you down anyhow. No? You can fly high, you can go high, you can, encounter the divine as much as you want, and that is also a very good thing to do. But if at that time you are not taking care or ignoring the desires and the needs that are there in your lower chakras, then somehow you will fall, somehow or other. And it's quite remarkable if you look, where are the most snakes? In which row are the most snakes? That is actually in the row of 7 chakra. There are 3 snakes there. It's the only row which has 3 snakes. So that is very clear. No? Either your ego, if you are there very high, maybe having some special powers, I don't know, being clairvoyant and something. No? Ego is still there. And ego may make abuse of that situation to think you are great, and even though we are all the same and divine and one, you can still feel, but I'm still a bit greater. No? So that will immediately bring you back to first chakra. No? And many of the snakes actually end in first chakra and bring you back there to the base and force you again to work yourself up from the base upwards. And that is very important to understand, that okay, we can fly, and that may bring some experiences which can be useful and inspiring and so on. But the idea is not to fly. The idea is to grow. And to grow means from the bottom up. No? Everything in the bottom also supporting whatever you are doing higher up. No? Means you as a tree, you can put your branches very high and grow beautiful leaves and flowers there, but still your roots need to be firmly in the ground. Otherwise it cannot work. So this is what definitely we can see here in this game. And in first chakra, of course, there are no snakes, because there's nothing below it. Actually, there is something below it, but not on the game board. I'll talk about it. But there's nothing below it. So there actually we find then a number of states which are quite unpleasant. Let's say anger, greed, avarice, conceit, all these things. They are really quite unpleasant states. And so if you are there, you are free, to stay there or not. And some people, of course, they stay there quite a lot. In anger, or in, really being negative, or in having all sorts of stories about themselves which have no relationship to reality, or, whatever, in just accumulating wealth and more wealth and more wealth, and they're already, let's say, having 4 houses, renting out 3, and then they want 1 more, and there's just no end to it. So many people actually get stuck in that first chakra. That is definitely not the idea. But there are no arrows, nor are there any snakes starting from first chakra. So first chakra is just something you need to take care of. It's not going to bring you anything more than allowing everything else. But there's no arrows there. There's nothing you can do there that will bring you up. But if you don't take care of it, you'll be taken down. That is a very important understanding. And in that way, when we look at ourselves, and then maybe we look at other people, then we may feel, I'm still stuck here with, work and kids and lots of things and worries. And look at this other person, they are always like in traveling and meditating and chanting bhajans and having, like a good time. And then we may feel, what am I doing? But this is not needed, no? Because whoever goes high will again also have to come low, no? These are natural processes, natural evolutions. And so, as I said, whichever state you are in, okay, it is your own doing, but it will also change. So don't attach too much importance to it, and especially not in your ego, no? Not in your self-confidence. It does not matter where you are always moving forward, you know? Always some learning is there. And interesting also to see actually in this game board is that there is no square for death, right? You would expect that in a game like that, but no, there is no, because life is endless, no? Only the life of this body is limited, and in that way, okay, the body at some point dies, but then you still live on and you get a new body and you move forward. So in that way, you should also feel like you have the time, no? You really have timelessness, and not be worried about this progress or something like that, no? You have so many lives, no? So, and then another important thing to learn here has more to do with, I would say, Vedic cosmology and the beautiful integration within this game of that understanding of how the universe is made, and at the same time the understanding of how the individual is made. You can see here the microcosmos of the chakras and the evolution that we all have, and the arrows and the snakes and all that. But at the same time, you also see the entire cosmos in its various lokas, no? Lokas literally translated as places, but I think it's maybe better to use the word dimensions, because they are not places, within the same dimension as we are. They are different, no? Dimensions which are there. Actually, here we have 7 rows which represent actual dimensions, and then we have this one row beyond, which, as I explained, represents the absolute, which has no place. So it is not really a loka. It's called Vaikunt Loka there in the middle, but it's not really a loka, no? It is just some place which is no place. I mean, okay, we enter there in the non-dual kind of words which are difficult to define, no? And then actually there are also 7 rows below this game board, which are in the underworld, you can say. Okay, we don't need to talk about that. That's not where we are going, but they are still there just to be complete. And then you will find also on the game boards many squares which also are named lokas. Like you have Yaksha Loka, which is a place where in the level of 4 chakra you have certain kind of very devotional beings, usually associated with places of worship and temples and so on. Or you have Narkaloka, which is like a purgatory where you can burn away your sins or whatever you perceive as your sins or errors that you make. These things are there, but these should be understood not as separate dimensions, but rather you can say as parts of this dimension which is represented by that row. Just like you could say a country has different regions, no? So also that, let's say, astral plane, the second row, no? It has different places in one dimension. So these 7 dimensions, which are primarily there in the universe, they are directly related to the elements. So that is very important to understand. No? We have the earth element from which all the solids are made. That creates the earth plane or earth loka, no? Where we live and where we have forms. No? Earth is the only element which has a fixed form. So then, associated with the water element, we have the next dimension, which is the astral plane, where we have dreams and things like that. And then associated with the element of fire, we have the next dimension, which is the celestial plane, or you could call it the first heaven. There are still others above there, and so on. But we have to understand that saying that one is above the other is again a misunderstanding. It's more like, you have these Russian dolls, and you open one and there's another one inside, and you open that one and there's again another one inside. So this is more actually what we're here talking about when we talk about these dimensions. They all exist somehow in the same place, but in a different dimension. And this is again also related to the elements, because if we look at the element earth, it has all the other elements. In the earth element there is water, there is fire, there's a certain kind of heat, there is air, and there is of course also space, without which nothing can exist. So same way as the water is hidden in the earth, you cannot see it, but you know it is there. Same way the astral plane is hidden within the phenomenal world of the earth dimension. And then within that, even hidden further, is the celestial plane, this first heaven. So this is not a matter of below and above. That's just like a way to explain it. It is one within the other. And that is also why there are possibilities to connect to these other dimensions and learn something there maybe. By breaching that kind of barrier which is there between those dimensions. And actually the first barrier between the earth plane and the astral plane is something which everybody is actually every night breaching by dreaming. When we dream, when whatever in our mind we see which is purely imaginary, that is actually happening in this dimension of the astral plane. So that is where we have imagination, sensation, dreams, and all that. That is this aspect of mind which is beyond the material world. In the West we tend to associate mind with the brain, which is in the physical world. But that is just a reflection of mind in the physical world. The actual mind is not in the physical world, it is in the astral world. And that is where we have all this imagination. It is like the psychic space, you could say, between the earth and the heaven. There is some kind of intermediate place, which some will associate then also with the atmosphere when it comes to our planet Earth. But of course, in other parts of the universe, it must be different, but okay. And so there also in the astral plane, we actually encounter the spiritual beings that are in between lives. The physical body has died, then we move actually to the astral plane, and then from there again we can come back and find a new body. This is the first dimension which is behind this one. And then beyond that, based on the element of fire, there is the first heaven, where live, the saints, the gods, and where we also might visit if we can go there. I'll explain a little bit more about that. And where then, the angels are there. I mean, luminous beings, that is typically for the celestial plane, because the fire element is there. So everybody there is, you can say, made out of light, have bodies of light. And so that is where these then are. But it does not stop there. There is still possibility to go higher, not really higher, actually, to go further beyond, and again more subtle. Actually, this is a total evolution from the gross, which is the earth element, to the most subtle element, which is Akash. And also there, these dimensions become more and more subtle. So the next one is then called Maha Lila, called the plane of balance here, where are said to dwell mostly bhaktas, people who are feeling very connected to the divine, very connected to everything and everyone, and they love this feeling so much that that is all that they want, and that is there where they stay. You can say that in the heaven below it, there the beings which are there, they are still wanting to do something. Like, yes, even the gods, who are there, they're still having some ideas and some plans and some things that they are doing. But when we move beyond to the Mahaloka, there that doing is finished. There is pure beingness in love, in connection with everything, and no more desire to go anywhere beyond that. But still beyond Mahaloka, there is Jnanaloka, which you can say is the human plane, but is also called the plane of knowledge, of course. And there you find even, I would say, more advanced beings, siddhas, saints, who are not satisfied anymore with just dwelling in love and connection and bliss and peace, but who really want to escape the game, who want to cease being individuals. In Mahaloka, they are still all individuals, and they also don't see the problem. They're just, happy, in this togetherness. But so some move beyond that to Jnanaloka, and these are beings, you can say, of pure wisdom, who are only involved in meditation and contemplation. And of course, just together, you need to understand the basic truths of the universe, the absolute, and all that. But they do not just want to understand it intellectually. They want to really see it there. And that is possible within that element, which is the element of Akash. So there actually we come to the final element, the most subtle of all elements, of which everything is made. And interestingly, it is said that from there onward, from that dimension onward, Jnanaloka, but also Tapaloka and Satyaloka, which are above, these lokas will not disappear when the universe gets destroyed. Now, this is typical in Vedic understanding, that the universe comes into being, exists for some time, and then it is again destroyed by Shiva, and then comes the night of Brahma. For some time there's nothing, and then everything again starts. This circular motion is there. But so there is a part of the universe that escapes from this birth and rebirth of a universe, and always continues to exist. And it is said that when that time is near, when the universe is almost going to be destroyed, that then beings from Svargaloka and Mahaloka try to reach still into Jnanaloka, so that they, let's say, can survive the dissolution of the universe. And so then there is beyond it Tapasloka. Tapasloka means burning. That is really like the place where the final work is being done, and the final identification with whatever energetic body then remains is done, where all individuality is lost, so that you can move into Satya Loka, where you are just part of the ultimate reality, and there's no more individuality left, but you are still in manifested form. To go beyond that is the absolute, unmanifested. So this is in a way interesting, and certainly from a tantric perspective interesting, because when we try to get inspired, when we try to understand, when we try to get help, maybe when we try to do healing, or we try to evolve, go further in our meditation, then actually that is also related to these lokas. You can say that when we are just having fun with, cake and music and all that, then the beings in the astral world, they can support us. And they will support us. They will even, like you could say, whisper in our ears what to do and how to enjoy best. So we can find some help there, let's say from the spirit world, although the astral world is really more than just the spirit world, but okay. To simplify it, we can say it like that. When we are in third chakra, trying to achieve something, and then having a certain thought process, followed then by a certain action, which is then meant to achieve something, then that is actually supported from the heaven. So that is where we can say, okay, I would like, I don't know, to make a school for homeless children. Please, whoever, Ganesha or, other deity whom you feel associated, or Lakshmi or something like that, no, please help me to do that. That is where you'd get this kind of help. No? And if then you want to move further into connection, then that help you get in the dimension of Mahaloka, for example, from these yakshas, which are then somehow or other associated with places of worship and with worship itself. And so if then you chant bhajans, actually, those are the ones who are going to inspire you. Those are the ones who are going to give you some kind of help. And if you move into fifth chakra and you really want to understand, to know, not just to acquire knowledge, but really to know, then that help you can get from Jana Loka. And and if you want to be like Shiva and withdraw totally from the world and go to the end, then it is the beings in Tapasloka who can mostly help you. So that is also an understanding which is there, which will probably come out in other classes on specific levels of these different lokas, what they mean and how to reach there, and which regions are still there. I'm not going to go into all that now. Within these dimensions that can be particularly interesting for us, like you also have Pitraloka, where you can contact the ancestors, things like that we are already doing. But so the main thing also here I feel to understand is that this upward movement of energy is natural, and it is definitely not about acquiring something. Too many people are involved with that actually when they want some kind of spiritual growth. They want to acquire something, they want to acquire some knowledge, they want to acquire some skills, maybe some, I don't know, better concentration and all that. And I'm not saying that's not part of it. Don't misunderstand. But to acquire something is not the essence. To let go of something, that is the essence. That is what makes you more light. Like you can say, if you are in a hot air balloon and you want the balloon to move up, what do? You throw out some of the sandbags. And then the balloon gets more light and you move up. Same way you are going to move up most easily, most effortlessly, most, I would say, naturally and without any problem in letting go of things to which you are attached. To have this trust that the divine will provide whatever you need. You don't need to hold on to anything else. You just, move on. Still respecting nature. As I said, first chakra, if you don't take care of it properly, it's not going to work. But not get attached to it. To whatever, security you have there. To be detached from that and to move your energy up. And so in that way, when we play the Leela game board, I've played it every day for many, many, many years, every morning. Not the whole game, of course, but just a few, maybe throws of the dice, a few squares, and then maybe read a little bit more in the book about some square that I felt needed some more understanding. And so in that way, slowly, we learn a lot about ourselves. But we are always then, I would say, confronted with these essential messages that are there. Essential messages that this is a game, nothing serious. Don't get serious. Play well, but play lightly and let your desires mature naturally. Don't get stuck into something which is already boring to you. That's I see with so many people actually. No, it's boring. Okay, it's done. Leave it. Move. See what is beyond. See what is behind the corner. There's always something new. And do not attach to any place where you are in this game, because anyhow you will move forward, and you can go high and you can fall low, and and it's in that way quite endless, and it's supposed to be entertaining. So yeah, keep that equanimity. That is the main thing, I think, that we find when we play this game a lot, and we start reflecting that into our life. Yes, then we become light. Quite naturally, we become light, and the energy moves up also, quite naturally.